Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, the second day of March. I hope you all enjoyed watching the Finding Nemo clip yesterday. Today we are going to build towards our main task tomorrow, which is to write an informal letter. So we've learnt already a little bit about Nemo, how he feels, his relationship with his father, all about what he does to get ready for his first day at school. So we've covered that bit off. So today what we're going to do is we're going to focus on what is an informal letter. So we will look at the features of an informal letter. An informal letter is different to a formal letter. In many ways, main thing will be who we would send it to. So we will look at that and discuss who we would send a formal letter to. That might be a formal letter to, if you were writing to, I don't know, maybe an MP, or if you were writing to the Prime Minister, or if you were writing when you're older off to inquire about a job, or you're writing to the supermarket to ask if they can do something or to complain about something. These are formal letters, writing to somebody that you probably don't know. An informal letter is very different, and that's what we're interested in. This is where you would generally write to somebody that you do know, and the whole mode of your letter, the whole feel of your letter will be far more relaxed and informal. So we'll look at that. Okay, so let's take a look at some letters. Before we do though, we have a starter to cover off, and our starter is a recap on prepositions. We've spent a lot of time on prepositions, so you need to think about, first of all, use this space if you can, just to list down some prepositions, and then when we get to the next page you'll see if you were right. So have a think. Can you remember? There is a clue in the word preposition, position. That helps me remember what this is about. Okay, when you've had a little think, we'll move on to the next slide. So pause the video if you want to have a go at writing some of those prepositions down, and then come back when you're ready. Okay, so with any luck, you've had a go at writing down some prepositions. Let's have a look and see if you can use them. So this is a picture, a very busy picture. There's all sorts going on here. The pets have escaped from the local pet shop. Hurrah! Look at the following picture and describe where each of the animals are hiding. So if we look, I can see a snake. If I was to describe where that snake was, I would need to use a preposition. So a preposition is a word that describes the position of something, where something is. So the snake is wrapped around the video camera. The iguana, or lizard, or chameleon, whatever that is, I think an iguana maybe, chameleon, lizard, is sitting on the table. The penguin is in front of the chair. You should be able to use all sorts of prepositions, and it might be that you use words like beyond, or through, or in front of, or behind. See how many you can come up with, and think about some sentences that you could write about the animals in this picture. If we have a look, there's more for you to see here. We've got a gorgeous dog, and there's a little cat hiding, and what I think must be a hamster, a cheeky hamster hiding behind the pot. But I reckon you might even be able to come up with some sentences that are even better than mine. Challenge yourself, perhaps, come up with a compound or a complex sentence. So rather than the hamster is behind the pot, could you extend that with an additional clause? Try to remember some of the work you did last term and put it into a bigger sentence. That's my challenge to you. When you've done that, a quick reminder then that prepositions are about where something is, but they can also be prepositions that tell us when something's happened. So it might be that it happened at 6 o'clock. That is a time preposition, or during the lesson, or due to. So some also tell us actually due to is when something is caused by something else. So we call these prepositions of cause. So we've got prepositions of time, So that actually is a word or a phrase that tells us when something is happening. And then other prepositions that tell us about the cause is saying because of this or due to that. So these are all prepositions, but when we think of a preposition, the easiest thing to think about is how you describe where something is. Okay, then moving on, let's have a look at this letter. So this letter is an example of a letter from Nemo to Dad. This is essentially what you are going to be doing tomorrow, but obviously I don't want you to copy my letter, although I am a big fan of tweaking what's already there. So it might be that you use this as a really good format for you tomorrow, but you tweak it with your own words where you can. I want you to look at how it's set out. We'll discuss that a bit further on with some of the other slides. But you can see that there's an address here. So this is a made-up address, Under the Sea, Coral Cove, Ocean Park. Then we have a date. So today's date, Tuesday the 2nd of March. So that says when the letter was written. And this is the address of the person who is sending the letter. This is always done on the right-hand side of the page. So we take up quite a bit of space, as you can see on a letter, but that's the correct way of setting it out. We then move back to our usual starting point when we do our writing. We go back to the left-hand side of the page. So for you, it would be up to your margin. And then we write who we're sending our letter to. So in this case, Dear Dad. So that goes on one line, we put a comma after it, and then we drop down to the line below. And this is when we then start to use our full sentences. So in this case, the letter says, Dear Dad, I know that you are worried about me, but you really don't need to be. I'll be absolutely fine. I can't wait to go to school and I'm looking forward to meeting lots of new friends. I know that it seems scary for you to send me off to school and to be apart from each other, but it will be for the best. I'll learn so many new things and I'll be home before you know it. Don't worry about me. If I have any problems, then I will tell you and my new teacher. Lots of love, Nemo. Now I would probably put some kisses there. So you can see that we still use paragraphs. We have a first paragraph, we have a second paragraph. The first paragraph is really telling Dad about why Nemo is writing to him. So it's saying, I know you're worried, but I'm going to be fine. And then the second paragraph actually says a little bit more about why Nemo is excited and what he's going to do if there are any problems. Then we've got lots of love, or you might have love from or with love, depending on who you're writing to, and then your own name. So in this case, it's Nemo. So a lovely informal letter from Nemo to Dad, really summarising what you're going to be doing tomorrow, which is writing about Nemo's first day at school. So we need to look at this. This is the success criteria that we will be using when we think about what do we need in our letter. So this lists the features that we would expect to see in an informal letter. So what I want you to do is to look at each of these and go back to that letter that I've just read, and perhaps with a highlighter pen or a colouring pencil you could underline bits that prove these points. So for example, the first feature, I have directly appealed to the reader. Well, that's when you actually say things, you might use the word you in it, or I know you are worried about me, so you're talking to the reader. Let's go back and see if we can find an example. Here we go. I know that you are worried about me. So if I was to use my highlighter pen, you could do this at home with your colouring pencil. It might be that we highlight that. Also, I think the use of the exclamation mark shows that you're kind of making it quite passionate. I know you're worried about me, but you really don't need to be. So it's almost as if you can hear Nemo saying those words to Dad. They're not just flat words, they've been brought to life a little bit by using the word you, because he's talking directly to Dad, but also using an exclamation mark to show that he's feeling quite passionate about it. Look at the next one, written using a chatting and informal style. So might be using words like awesome, cool, dead tired. Would be using those sorts of words instead of feeling wonderful. You might not say that to your friend or to your dad. You might go home and say, oh, I feel really rubbish. So think about the sorts of, well, I hope you don't. I hope you'll be going back saying, I feel amazing, or I feel really, really positive. But have a think about what language you would use if you were chatting to your dad or to a family member, or to a friend if we're doing an informal piece of writing. So have a look through there, see if you can find some examples of that in there. The next one on the list is an informal ending. So take it easy, or see you soon, or hope you're well, take care, lots of love. We know that's in the letter. And then we've got these contractions that you spent a bit of time on yesterday. So we're looking at wouldn't, didn't, can't. I explained to you yesterday that contractions are a shortened form of two words that are more formal. So instead of would not, I would not want to be going there. You might say I wouldn't. So that's a more informal way of saying it. Contractions are informal. And then lots of personal detail like thoughts and feelings and reactions. Can you see where they are in the letter? To express time, place and cause. So this is some of our the prepositions we were talking about. So when something has happened, when, where and why. So have a look for these sorts of words because of this, or during that, or soon afterwards. Take a look for any of those. And then, can you see paragraphs in it? Has it been organised and set out? And then there are certain things with a letter you must always do. I talked about how you would set the address over on the right hand side, and you would have the postcode written down usually. Use capital letters for the address, including the postcode, and put a comma after your starting address. So dear dad, comma, dear mum, comma, dear friend, comma, whoever you're writing to. So those are the features you're looking for, and your job will be to show that you can understand where they are in a letter. But before you do that, I'm going to ask you to go to this PowerPoint. So this has been saved as well on the website, and so you can click on the link from the teaching slide. It is on there, and this will run through how to set out an informal letter, which really covers what I've just said about putting the address up in the right hand corner, then the date, then you go over to the left hand side to write dear dad, then you start new paragraphs, then you write yours sincerely or lots of love. It shows you how to do it step by step. So read through this, it's really good way of showing you. And then you come to your main task today, which is to look at this letter. So you will need perhaps to print it out and then to highlight it in the same way that I started to on the Nemo letter. Use a highlighter or a coloured pencil, go back and look at the success criteria features that are on the teaching slide. So you will need to print this off and have a look, or at least have it somewhere where you can flick forwards and backwards. And then it is on the same page, but it's quite small. But what I want you to do is to literally go through and highlight or annotate the bits that you can see that show some of these features. You might even, when I say annotate, that means you can write on there, and you might say this shows concern or friendliness towards the person receiving the letter. So this shows concern. I can see as well that we've got A conjunction, what does that show? Which one of these does that fit in with? So have a think, go through, highlight what you can, annotate if you can as well. We can see the postcode there in capitals. Write down everything that you can see on that letter that shows you it's an informal letter. Okay, that's your task today. If you can do this, you are in a really good place tomorrow to start doing your own letter. Right, I will see you then. Bye.